We've got some developing lines to bring you regarding the situation in the West Bank as well as in Gaza. Firstly, regarding the West Bank, the UK government has called on the Israeli authorities to exercise restraints, saying the risk of instability is serious and the need for de-escalation is urgent. At the same time, a joint statement has been put out from Israel by the IDF-ISA and the Israeli police, saying the last few hours of their joint counter-terrorism operation in the northern Samaria area has identified a terrorist cell led by Wassem Hazem, the head of the Hamas terrorist organization in Jenin, and, following the identification, they carried out and directed shooting and bombing attacks following the identification they encountered, eliminating Ham, so he has been killed. They have confined the Hamas commander in the West Bank. Let's bring in our Middle East correspondent Eliezer Bunkel, who joins me from Jerusalem now. And Ali, just on that, first and foremost, the joint forces in Israel issuing this seemingly to justify what they've been doing.
Yeah, so just to go back, the Israelis launched a pretty wide-scale operation in the West Bank in the early hours of Wednesday morning. It's still ongoing, particularly in Jenin and de-escalation, two cities in the West Bank which have seen terror activity emanating from there and then being carried out against either Israelis in the West Bank or in Israel itself. So that is the reason why the Israelis are carrying out this operation. There's another area in the Jordan Valley that they had been operating in that's now being wrapped up, but the operation in the two cities, I say Terem and Jenin, goes on. We have had this killing this morning of what they described as a senior Hamas commander in Jenin and two of his associates in Jenin itself, and this is replicated across most of the West Bank. Most of the cities in the West Bank, you have sort of various different networks of militant groups. Now Hamas has gained increasing popularity in the West Bank since October the 7th. The Palestinian Authority, which is the main governing body, controls the West Bank, has seen its influence and authority really away over recent years, and a lot of people have turned towards militant groups because they view them as having of either greater power, greater influence against the occupying Israelis. So I wouldn't say that Hamas does not have the presence in the West Bank in the way that it has in Gaza, but it does have an increasing influence there, so the Israelis are not targeting Hamas specifically. They are targeting any militant group that they believe has been trying to plan or carry out terror attacks against Israel as an operation, which is now into its third day. It has been, well, from what I witness anyway, having spent the best part of Wednesday in Jenin, it has been lower level term in terms of its intensity to previous operations even in the last couple of months in places like Jenin. But the longer it goes on, for every time these operations happen, they often close down areas. In the case of Jenin, they pretty much locked down the city. We found it very difficult to get into Jenin. We had to go around different routes when she got in there. I know these are of sort of anecdotal accounts, but things like the central market, which is normally absolutely heaving and bustling, completely empty, nobody there. You know it has an impact on commerce as well, and you can't underestimate that because it is the West Bank is a very poor area. They do struggle for finance, and so all of these factors make what already is a difficult and precarious situation even worse. I think that is what in part lies behind the British statement. But the Israeli military operation continues. We don't know how long, for the Israelis won't put a time scale on it, but I think now the number of people they've killed in the last 2.5 days is around 2021.
A quick word on Gaza, Eliezer, because look, you mentioned the British government statement calling for restraint, something that the British government and others have been calling for, is some sort of a ceasefire in Gaza. Well, it turns out there is going to be a pause in fighting to allow the World Health Organization to carry out a polio vaccination program amongst children.
Yeah, I think this is a really positive development, assuming that it happens. It's a sort of a tentative agreement at the moment between Israel and Hamas and s of through third parties. They've detected polio. The World Health Organization detected traces of polio in Gaza about 2 months ago in the sewage system. Since then at least one baby, a 10-month-old baby, has being partially paralyzed as a result of polio. So it's really concerning, and the UN wants to roll out a vaccination program particularly amongst children in Gaza. So it's aiming to vaccinate around 680,000 children under the age of 10, but to do that and to do it effectively they need breaks in fighting, both to be able to move their own personnel around, but also to expect the people who they need to vaccinate to be able to reach them. So what looks to have been agreed is coming in force as of Sunday. There will be 3 kind of phases to this, each phase lasting 3 days. So the first phase would be in central Gaza, a 3-day pause in fighting in certain specific areas of central Gaza between the hours of 6 a.m. and 3 o'clock p.m. every day. So during daylight hours, that phase, assuming it goes well, will then move to the south of Gaza another 3 days, and then the north of Gaza another 3 days. And I think there is provision potentially to extend each phase by a day if they feel that they need to do so. So not only is it absolutely vital in order to be able to get to roll out the vaccination amongst the children in Gaza to try and stop polio from spreading not just in Gaza. Incidentally, there is a worry that it could very easily hop over into Israel as well, and I wouldn't place too much emphasis on this, but if that goes well, and if essentially Hamas and Israel can sort of agree to it even indirectly, and the UN can carry it out, then I think there is a hope that that might build some confidence about the potential for a wider CEA's orbit, temporary. And so there's a lot riding on this, and we'll see what happens between now and Sunday as to whether or not the two sides can officially agree, and it can progress as the World Health Organization hopes it will do. Thanks for watching this video.